Tonight, former Alderman John Collins-Muhammad drove away from the federal courthouse in downtown St. Louis after pleading guilty to corruption charges. For months, we've been watching as the scheme involving 3 former St. Louis aldermen unravels. Thank you for being with us. I'm Ann Allred.
And I'm Brent Solomon, in for Mike Bush. Collins-Muhammad is the first of 3 former aldermen in federal court this week for a change of plea hearing. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, joining us live outside of the courthouse now with much more on this ongoing case. Mark.
Brent, we witnessed some sobering moments inside the courthouse just moments ago as John Collins-Muhammad sat there with his head in his hands waiting for the judge to enter. After he did, Collins-Muhammad took the oath and pleaded guilty to all 3 counts, confessing under oath to accepting cash bribes and gifts like cars and cell phones from a business owner in his ward as he gave out tax breaks and incentives for that company. Federal charges filed against him spelled out how that business owner was actually a government informant undercover wearing a wire for the FBI. Those recorded conversations had Collins-Muhammad dead to rights, and his defense attorneys pleading with the judge for lenience today. His sentencing hearing in December. He could learn then that he could face up to 35 years in prison at the maximum. His wife broke down in tears when the judge allowed him to stay out on bond until the court decides his fate in December. Alderman Megan Green, one of his former colleagues, said she's relieved this case will not go to trial, where corruption could splash across headlines and flash on TV screens for months to come.
I think it would have just added a lot more turmoil to the process. I think we need to close this chapter in St. Louis history and chart a new path for our city.
Media was waiting outside the courthouse when Collins-Muhammad left. The judge cautioned him moments before he walked out. Don't go to those TV cameras and misconstrue your guilty plea. Tried to suggest that somehow it was all a misunderstanding. If in any way you're perceived as recanting your confession, the judge said he could take that into consideration when he's setting the sentencing guidelines, how long he'd spend behind bars. For that reason, perhaps, Collins-Muhammad stayed silent. We're going to see a similar perp walk from Jeffrey Boyd and Lewis Reed, the 2 other aldermen who are scheduled to appear in court and plead guilty on Friday. Brent?
Very interesting. Mark, before you go, how is this confession impacting the race for the Board of Aldermen president?
Yeah, good question. There's a special election in September, but the ultimate election in November. We know Megan Green, we heard from her moments ago. She feels confident that her long-standing criticism of how the city of St. Louis has doled out tax breaks to developers will help her paint that contrast against corruption. She's up against Jack Coder, who argues that Green's approach would blunt job growth in a city that desperately needs them. Tonight, Mayor Tishara Jones will step in and tip the scales in favor of Megan Green. She's going to be giving out that sought-after endorsement. Mayor Tishara Jones expected to endorse Megan Green for Board of Aldermen president later tonight.
All right, Mark Maxwell reporting. Mark, thanks.